Ragtime Racer. And the Ragtime cars are all pre-1920, before 1920 Indy 500 cars. And they're one of my favorites. They're phenomenal to watch, they're fun, they're really neat. And there was this little gal running around the place everywhere, working on the cars, and acting like she really knew what she was doing. And we started talking to her, and Ed Dalton, the co-founder here of Indy Legends, I started talking to her, and then I was watching Ed, and Ed was paying attention, and she said something about her grandpa or someone in her family did steam engines. Well, that got Ed's attention right away, and it went on from there. But she's been fascinating.
She has been fascinating, and we'll walk on up here because she has accomplished a lot in her young age. But one thing that she's always upbeat and friendly, but one of the things that I admire most about her, and she's a good role model. But when you get interested in something and you learn something, you hang out, and I know that you have that background, but also photography. But then as you get more involved, get opportunities.
Absolutely. So hi everyone, I'd like to thank all of you for being here. Honestly, it's really an honor to be the first guest. I'm blown away. When I got to meet these guys at the SVRA event, as we spoke about more and more things, we all realized, you know, the world's small when you're into machines and interesting things like vintage cars or land speed racing or steam locomotives, which is actually why I exist, is because of model steam engines. So I'm just into everything mechanical. So I'm very, very lucky, and enthusiasm seems to open doors, and I'm definitely chock full of that, for sure.
Absolutely. And so as we got to know each other, and also Liz and EJ were part of the Ragtime Racers, which was part of our inaugural event at the Indianapolis Raceway Park back in June. And hopefully you guys will come back this coming
we
June.
have news here. Liz has something to say.
Oh, we got news. Okay, we're up. You're on.
So I'm very honored to be working with the Ragtime Racers. As I said, they're pre-war cars, but that means pre-World War I cars. So we're dealing with early Indy cars, as well as fairground racer Model Ts, which are great because you're sitting on a 1910 trolley seat made out of wicker going down the Indianapolis Raceway. It's amazing, it's fantastic. But we have, I have a connection with them, and the leader of it, Brian Blaine, we were speaking, and there are 4 dates already on the calendar for next year, one of them being the SVRA event. 2 weeks later, Ragtime Racers will be at your event, which is really exciting because they loved it there. They're also doing one at Monterey, the Velocity Invitational, they'll be doing that. That's on West Coast, and then Ironstone in September. They're also possibly doing some more East Coast stuff. So more and more opportunities to come out and see really cool machines. So these are rolling pieces of history.
They really are. But the one national, the number 20 Blue National, that car was actually it ran 7th in the 1911 Indy 500, and we had it at IRP doing laps for 2 days, continuously. And I was fortunate enough to get to ride in it at Pittsburgh. Those guys doing 7 hours on bricks at the Speedway, they were nuts.
Yeah, and a lot of the things that people, so obviously kind of spotted this massive poster and this really cool model. I actually just got this from the team owner today. This is a development model for the land speed car I race. But people always say, oh my goodness, doing land speed racing must be so scary. And I say speed is really relative to what you're sitting in. If you're in a wicker trolley seat going 50, 60 miles an hour with no seatbelt and a little leather hat on, it feels like you're going 1,000 miles an hour. If you're going that speed in this thing, you're just being towed to the starting line. So speed is so relative. So it's exciting for sure.
Yes. Got a funny little story when we were at Pittsburgh. Ed and I got to ride in the cars, and we've been looking forward to that. And Corky Coker and some of the guys, he was phenomenal. It was neat. But I was riding with Brian.
Well, let's preface it too. It's Pittsburgh, and it's in the park at not Tin Lane. What's the name of the park? I apologize. But it's a 7.5 mile road course up and down hill for these things to go. It's really a neat event.
And they were running them hard. I mean, you're sitting there and you're like, oh, geez. And you look down the straightaway and you're thinking, man, I hope the wheels stay on it. Watching the wheels wobble. So you're shaking and then you're pumping.
Yeah.
2 pounds of pressure in the tank.
Yeah, you actually have to manually pump it, so you have a riding mechanic. So whoever gets to go for a ride has a job. You've got to
Right.
pump that thing the whole time. And if you kind of get distracted by the fact that you feel like you just sat on a time machine, you're appreciating the view, and you forget to pump the fuel, well, your driver's going to get really mad at you real quick. So it's an experience and a half, for
Right,
sure.
and it was in the 1911 National that ran 7th, and that was neat. I loved it. We came around and Brian was driving. Brian goes, I didn't see the checkered flag. Did you? I said, no, they didn't have it out yet. So we went halfway around, come back in, and we parked, and I'm walking back through there, and John, I think was the gentleman's name, he runs up and he goes, man, that was close. What's his name? Blocked it up. Another one slid sideways. Somebody went through the bales and tried to turn off. And here comes Ed. God, I sure got my money's worth. And Ed was in the car that went sideways and locked it up and into the headband.
Was it exciting, Ed?
And then I think, who does the, are you still doing their videos?
Yeah, I actually, when I showed up, I have, of course, a little bit of experience because I've worked as an automotive photojournalist for over 20 years. I know I look young, but I actually started when I was about 10 or 11 years old working as a freelance photojournalist. I actually do work with the SCTA, the Southern California Chiming Association. They run the Bonneville Salt Flats Speed Week. I do the covers of their different magazines and things like that. I work with my father and I do the photography. So they were like, wait, you do photography and video and things like that. And so they asked if I would work with them and do a bit of the social media stuff and the Facebook and the YouTube. And so we've got a wonderful Facebook page. If you look up, just look up Ragtime Racers on Google. We have a great YouTube where we've made these videos that really give you an idea, point of view of what it's like to be in those cars, different bits of history, take apart videos. If you ever seen a Model T taken apart and put back together in record time, phenomenal stuff. And so if you're interested in anything regarding these cars, just look up Ragtime Racers, and we have a mailing list on our website. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful event to bring people young and old that really just love these things. It's fun.
So yeah, so that's how we met you, and that's, so we just started talking, and we're,
Steph's usually really quiet.
I know, I'm usually very quiet. It's just so much, she's got so much bottled up inside her that you just want to pull it all at the same time. I'm trying to take it slow. But then you had an opportunity of this.
This year, this is one of the most incredible things, obviously, that I've ever had the opportunity, besides getting to actually drive on the Indianapolis Raceway in a 1960 Hudson, 16 Hudson. That was phenomenal. And then about 5 years ago, I was hired to do photos at Bonneville of this team's car. This is the Iron Dinosaur. And for 5 years, there was either the O2 sensor would go and blew 8 holes in the pistons, or the problem with the clutch when the owner and builder of the car would drive it. And he's like, well, you can do your rookies one day. And so for 5 years, we'd go out all the way to Bonneville and it would rain, and we'd have to turn back, or we'd go out there and the car would break. And finally, after May 2023, we went out. And I actually had the honor of setting 3 land speed records at Arkansas, which is ECTA, so that's on asphalt. So I currently hold 3 records, which I'm very, very proud of, and we're going back to go bump those up in the spring, because I think I can do much better now. But then finally this year, we took the car out, and I got to race on the salt. And after going to Bonneville since 2012 as a photographer, photographing race cars since I was 10, going to, I had the honor of photographing Ron Fellows when he went up in Montreal. I was 17 years old, got to shoot the NASCAR race up in Canada, and I photographed F1, and go to a million of these things. I've been to so many of these as a photographer in the corner. I never dreamed one day I would get to sit in that car and look down that track, and they look at you, they point at you, visor down, and then the course is yours, and you're in this vast salt space that, Sir Malcolm Campbell raced.
Okay, now, what were you thinking strapped in the first time in this great big long machine, and you're seeing 4 miles of sand?
Finally.
There you go.
They close that can. There's all kinds of people milling about, and you're getting ready, and you're in your suit, and people are asking questions, and finally that canopy comes down, and it's just me and her. And we're just gonna go for a ride, and you just enjoy every second of it. They said, oh, you know, you're gonna go slow for your rookies. It was the best exhilarating experience of my existence. It was beyond words, really.
I am curious, on the push off on that,
Yep.
how long is the actual initial push start so that you hit your marker and
Yeah.
you start the timer?
So-
That can take a long time sometimes.
Absolutely. So this has a Winder's quick change rear end. So we have different gear ratios that we can run. So the car, we have a Jericho 5 long gate transmission. So we need that tall gear for the top end, because the record in our class that we're working up to, the record currently is 344, so 344 miles an hour. So you need the gearing to be pretty stout. So the push truck will actually have a board in the front, and when you leave the starting line, there's a massive pickup truck pushing you all the way up to 45 miles an hour. So I'm sitting there with my foot on the clutch, and I'm getting ready, and I have to wait until I see that my speed's up to 45, and that's when I can leave the push truck. And you've got to do it quickly and efficiently, because you don't want that truck bumping you or getting caught up in you. So yeah, 45 miles an hour is where you're trying to get to, and you can't be pushed past the mile. So there are rules. There's a lot of rules. Makes it fun.
Yeah, just like your sprint cars and midgets, you don't want to chug the rear end.
Not fun.
No chugging the rear
Not
end.
fun.
So now we watched you, you were actually driving EJ around, you guys would take turns and you guys seemed to have fun. What was you guys ended up with another little hot rod that you were driving around, I think Steph was around the Bay Area with.
Yeah.
And how often, do you guys keep just finding new projects and different things to work on, or?
So EJ Kowalski, who I'm very honored to even be associated with, I always tell people I'm his plucky assistant. I just try to learn as much as I can from him. But we went out there, we went out for your event, and he had a client who, he does custom cars, he does land speed racing, he does everything. And so one of his clients said, hey, if you go an hour past the event, there's an old, that's 17 Hudson that I would like to buy. So we went out there and picked it up. It hadn't run in like 12 years. Well, the Kowalski way is you bring a jerry can and you bring some straps and a piece of hose, and we got that thing running by the end of the day, and we were doing laps around, and it was just a vehicle that was, he'll pick up a car, he'll restore it, he builds hot rods. It's just a wonderful thing that I get to be a part of. And I had the honor of helping him restore Rich Guasco's Pure Hell funny car, which is a bright purple and flamed out funny car if you guys like drag racing. I had the honor of actually helping restore that car and then having it presented to Rich at the Nitro Revival last year. And then we just got back from going back and bringing that car to that event and dropping it off at the Lions Museum. So the opportunities for, racing motorcycles, circle track, and dirt. I've done drag racing on dirt and asphalt. I've done the land speed, and all of this, I started racing in general in May 2023. Motorcycles, cars, dragsters. I've gotten an opportunity to do all of that in that short amount of time. But I'm making up for lost time, I think. I'm really trying. But he's given me so many opportunities, and I owe a lot to him, and mostly very much to Dawn for giving me that first opportunity. But yeah, I'm thankful for every second of it.
So the Iron Dinosaur racing has been, how long have they been racing? How many, it's a long time, because I did some of my little research I was supposed to do. But your father is also involved.
Yes.
So talk about your father.
So I'm very fortunate to be best friends with my dad. We've also worked together, which is some of you, when you work with family, you know how it goes working with your dad.
It's hard to do.
It can be, but at the same time, he's my best friend, and I'm so fortunate. But he and I got hired as a photography team to shoot this car, and my dad has been with me every time, even though it's hard to get, he lives in Canada, I'm originally from Canada. So for him to come and go to Bonneville and go to Arkansas, and he puts in such an effort to be there for me in every way. And my mother wants to be there, but someone's got to hold down the fort, and make sure everything goes straight. But she's been to Bonneville, and she's my biggest inspiration. But yeah, my dad does the photography, and it's amazing. I'm really fortunate.
So one of the things that I enjoy about bringing young people and people attaching gosh, I can't even talk, I didn't eat, but I apologize, but I'm trying to get this all out because you're so fascinating to me, but how do you encourage, and this is what I like most about what we noticed, and Ed, when we first met you, is you are unassuming, and she's humble, she's smart, but when you have people involved and as you stand back, what would you give advice to a younger person that's got the interest, that necessarily doesn't want to drive, just being involved in the opportunities? What would, just stick with it or pick your niche? And then, I mean, tell me how you worked your way from photography to getting your hands dirty, because we, as girls, have gotten our hands dirty going racing.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I've done a lot of very strange things. Like one of my last full-time employments was it's going to sound kind of crazy, but when I worked in restoration, I used to restore Sherman tanks and half-tracks and other World War II armored vehicles. That was my full-time job. So and then I also run steam locomotives, full-size and scale steam engines. And then I also have been a photojournalist. And I think anytime there's an opportunity, you just got to say yes. And if there's something that interests you, go and show up, go and check it out, because eventually, it takes some time, but eventually someone will notice that, hey, this kid is hanging out quite a bit. They're actually putting in the time to hang out. The biggest thing you can do is if you show up in a shop and you want to be there, pick up the broom. Offer to just be a fly on the wall, stay out of the way, but show a genuine interest, and someone one day will, I never thought it would happen, but after all that time, somebody saw, oh, she's serious about this. She really wants to do it. And boy, girl, frog, toad, lizard, that's what Liz is short for. But honestly, anything you're interested in, just go out and do it. Life's so short. It's so exciting. I've only been here a short time, and I've still got a huge list of things I want to do. And people are like, how old are you? I'm like, I think I'm 74. I've done a lot of things, but it's just, the world's so exciting. Everything's, just show up and show that you have a genuine interest.
Well, and I think that applies to everybody at all ages. It's not just because you're young, but like we have a lot of race fans and a lot of people that to do racing. It's just a matter of time of just, you're right, just showing up and just being there, and look for the opportunities and say yes.
Yeah, say yes. Say yes, even if it's kind of crazy. Somebody recently said, hey, you're kind of a risk taker, and I stopped, and I never thought of myself that way. I never had ever applied that to myself. And then I realized, I guess I am, because if I'm not going to take a risk on me doing something, putting myself out there, then nobody else is gonna. You've got to be the first person to take a risk on yourself and say, you know what, just give it a go. The worst that can happen is it doesn't work out and you find something else interesting. You got to take the chance. It's tough, but it's fun.
Liz, this week is a huge week in Indianapolis with PRI. I don't know if this is your first time here for that or not.
It's my first time.
Okay.
I'm very excited.
And I saw you're going to get a couple booths, I believe.
Yes, I've actually been invited to PRI for my first time. I've been wanting to come to this event forever. I've been invited by, it's UEM, it's Icon Pistons. They're our piston company that supports the team, and they've invited me to come to spend time at the booth. This year they don't have room for our car because we're about 24 feet long. So we're going to have some space in the booth next year is the plan. And so I'm here to represent the team and say thank you to our sponsors and just get to experience all of this. And when you guys said you were here, I was chuffed you're here.
What days and what times and what booths?
So the booth is the UEM booth. I'm going to be there from 10 o'clock for about an hour, and then 3 o'clock for about an hour is what they scheduled me for. But I'm going to be there for quite a long time, and I'll be bouncing around the whole show. If you spot the wacky chick with the green hair, it's probably me. So everyone asks, I say I had a Prestone leak, but
there you go. Yeah. Now, she did bring posters tonight and some t-shirts for giveaways. But get her autograph, because this girl's going places for sure, and she's definitely going to be here for our event in June.
That's the plan so far. I'm hoping to be there.
What'd you say?
Hoping to be there.
Oh, you're going to be there.
Well, I don't want to miss it, honestly.
Well, there might be another racing opportunity because Indy Legends and our group are now, IRP's putting together a Ford Focus Midget series. They have 4 races, but they're also going to do some celebrity, maybe.
And they were talking about drag racers, specialty racers, doing one of the races.
and
That
a
sounds
midget,
fun.
an open wheel midget, we could put Liz in it.
You stole my heart. That sounds like a great time, honestly.
And so you'll have plenty of laps because you went around IRP for 2 days last June, and you're gonna have 2 more days. So you'll have lap times around IRP. It's the perfect storm.
That's amazing. Honestly, the opportunities that you guys have offered us, and thank you, honestly, because it's just dreams coming true. It's just fantastic. And yet again, if you put yourself out there, every once in a while, your craziest, wildest dream actually happens. Like driving that car and sitting there. The amount of times, like, you're at the dentist and they go, oh, you really are uncomfortable. Why don't you close your eyes and go to your happy place? And the dentist looked at me like, you're going to that salt place, aren't you? And I was like, how do you know that? He's like, I can see it. You've mentioned it before. And it's that view of the canopy with the floating mountain. And this, it's just, that was my dream. But just in general, sitting behind a steering wheel or a butterfly and getting to drive it.
What is the ride like
It's
across
really
the
nice.
thing? I mean, is it, because I watch videos and a lot of it's almost like, it just rattles a little bit across the top.
Yeah, we don't really have a suspension.
Right, so kind of let us know, through the steering wheel, through your butt, what's it feel like, and what do you,
Well, it's definitely, a lot of people equate.
yeah, right,
Yeah,
well,
no,
when you're racing, you feel a lot of stuff right through your butt.
it's the truth. You drive, yeah, you drive with your posterior. You do. You actually do, because that's really what you're not trying to use your hands or your head, or you're using your whole being to kind of feel. You're not trying to drive the car. You're really, it's strange. The machine is built to do the job. You're supposed to be there to be a guiding hand to just help it do what it's been designed to do. This thing is like a lawn dart. It's got a drag coefficient of 0.18. It's been in the wind tunnel. This thing is built with 2,000 horsepower. It's got twin turbos putting out 40 pounds of boost. It wants to go down the track, and so all you're trying to do is kind of lightly. You don't steer it. You guide the steering wheel. You lightly do it. No. You don't want to input too much information, because that's when you get a little squirrely. And about at the 3 mile, there's an underground river is what they call it. And it gets a little bit kind of mushy around there. And the more people drive on it, the mushier it gets. So you can skate around. I have a friend, he was going, I think it was 400, and he ended up going sideways. And you can't just try to correct for that. You've got to lightly ask the car, oh please, can we please go this way? But this vehicle, it's really fantastic how it's been built. Yeah, it's really an experience. Everyone can do it. You guys can. They're having an event in July at Bonneville where you can drive your street car. You can go out there and do it. It's not that. It's just that it's a little bit far away. But is it worth it? Absolutely. It is absolutely worth it.
Well, we have, she has some t-shirts over here. We've got some tickets. Pull your tickets out. And if I've called your ticket, come up and get, Liz has stickers. She's got shirts, and you have posters that you'll autograph.
I do have some posters.
The last 3 numbers, 029, 025, and 040. If you've got that number, come up and pick up something from our gift table. Mother Mary got one.
Awesome.
And you'll be here for the evening.
Exactly. I'll be here for quite a while, so if you guys have any questions about all that fun and wacky stuff I'm fortunate to be a part of, as you can tell, I chat about it all night.
Well, now, also, what's on the agenda, guys? I mean, we're coming up on January. Most people have a plan, what they're going to try to do, or what they would like to do. Where are you guys at on that? What's on the calendar?
So I think it was about 2 days ago I was valve cover racing, because if there's no racing, you got to race something. So valve covers was, yeah, you got to race everything. Golf carts, valve covers. But I'm going to be going to Arkansas again, which is in the town of Bonneville. It's an old air base, and so it's asphalt. So we're going to be doing land speed racing there. That's going to be coming up in the spring. Possibly going all the way up to Loring, Maine, where there's also another land speed event. And then in August, we will be returning to Bonneville to see how fast I can go. I was doing my B-class license when the transmission broke. The lever sheared right off the side, and there was an issue with some pot metal kind of problems. So that's been all sorted out. transmissions back together, and we're gonna go and see how fast we can go at Bonneville. So I'm very excited to finish that B license and move my way up. It'll be great.
Now also, are you gonna be spending quite a bit of time with the Ragtime Racers?
Yeah, that's my plan. The Ragtime, so that's the other thing. We help organize several different drag races, vintage eliminator races where we race four bangers down drag strips and circle tracks, and I do have to replace that four banger out of the number 11. I kind of put the rod, first time I threw rods out the side of the block. It was a very old and tired engine, so I got to do a few things like that, but definitely land speed is coming up in spring. That's what I'm very much looking forward to. Ragtime Racers, as many of the events I can get to, I'm getting to all of them,
Okay,
if I can.
excellent. So you'll probably be at all 4 Ragtime Racers.
That's my attempt, because a couple of these are in California, and I am on the East Coast currently, so it's always depending on what's going on. But my plan is to come to the Indy races. That's my plan.
Yep, perfect.
If you guys are close enough to home, it's not all the way to California.
Well, we want to thank Liz and EJ for, they're sticking around, they're gonna get something to eat, and then she does have posters, and she'll autograph and she'll talk.
Yeah, and then how many hours did you drive? You guys left at 6 a.m. this morning and you just got here right at like 6 o'clock today.
It was nine and a half about hours, so we came sliding into home, and I was like, I'm sorry I'm late, but we made it. So thank you, but thank all of you for being here.
So hard to get there.
Oh, of course, and thank you guys. Honestly, I was honored that you even asked me to be here and be a part of this, and I thank you. I really thank both of you.
And make sure you get more one-on-one with her, and after she gets to eat, and get her autograph, and we do appreciate you, and we're meant to be friends.
I know, I'm so excited about all of it. Thank you, everyone. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful.